Day in LA. I was worried we weren't going to be able to record this podcast, though.
Is that because Spotify went down? Is that because you had a very important meeting?
No, it was more about I was worried because I don't really focus on like the technical side of this whole thing. So I was like, can we actually record the podcast if Spotify isn't working? Mm-hmm. But you're saying that we're good to go.
Well, I'm saying we can record podcasts all day.
I see.
But until Putin removes his boot from Spotify's neck, it's anyone's guess how it's. I mean, we might have to just print this episode on CDs and mail them out to people who subscribed for now as like it's a Band-Aid, not a cure.
Sure.
It's. Yeah. In these unprecedented times, we have to be able to pivot.
These times are so unprecedented. I just the thought of Daniel Ek, Joe Rogan, and Vladimir Putin having kind of a round table right now on Zoom is pretty crazy because like you can just stream music other places if you have to. You know what I mean? We have more important things to deal with right now. Is my point.
And I think that Spotify being down is sort of affecting people, but I mean, is it really that much? I mean. There are so many solutions. It's not just like, hey, Netflix is down, so I can't watch all the exclusive shows. Like everything that's on Spotify is also on 1,000 other platforms.
Yeah, that's true. And thank God, because if Netflix went down and I couldn't watch, Love is Blind season 2 or
exactly. That's a proprietary title. You can't even buy it if you wanted to.
No, you couldn't. You can't pay for it you can, of course, and Netflix prices go up by $1 every month. So we're looking by the end of the year we'll be at 25 large and
I'll keep paying.
Yeah, I'll keep paying because I can't get enough of these love-based reality programs.
Yeah, to me it's kind of those I don't know if it's a meme or a joke or something, but somebody was like, why do you look at gas prices? What are you going to do? Not buy gas? It's a little bit like that. Like, What are you going to do? Not like if Spotify goes up $1, if Netflix becomes $20 a month, everyone's still going to spend that. It's still an amazing deal.
I'm loving the gas discourse. I'm really loving it. I can't get enough of that A+ content of people posting a picture of a gas station sign with the prices on it and saying, "Damn, this is fucked up." Like, yeah. I mean, if that's the only thing that is affecting you from a war, then we're pretty good. I can pay $6 a gallon for a couple months.
Yeah,
assuming things do calm down. Assuming things do calm down.
Yeah,
and that's something we're praying for.
It is getting in the way of it's quickly becoming one of my most favorite days of the year, International Women's Day.
Yeah, shout out to all our women listeners.
Yeah, our demographic. We get a lot of press talking about how we're a bro cast, but I would say our guests diversity in terms of male female is pretty good, right? Like and also our listener demographics, we're like 60-40 male female. That's pretty darn good for any podcast, even one that's broy.
That's true. Cumtown could never.
If a woman listens to Cumtown, their server crashes. It doesn't know how. It doesn't. The technology's not there.
They get a red alert, like an alarm starts going off, and they have to stop recording. It's really a problem. No, but yeah, happy International Women's Day and happy Tuesday to you, Jason. I hope you're feeling good over there.
I'm feeling pretty good, man. I did my cardio workout. And then when I'm done recording this, I'll go finish the job over at Equinox.
I like that, Jason. I'm glad you start.
So I'm not doing 2-a-days. I'm doing a 1-a-day split into 2 pieces.
I understand, but it's a long tail. I know you like to spread it out. That's kind of your thing because we have a dinner tonight, so it's going to be a busy day for the How Long Gone family.
Yeah, we're going to friend of the show John and Vinny's restaurant just to check in over on Fairfax to see. Hopefully we'll get our same sommelier.
Well, if they're not playing fucking Most Def, I'm walking out. So it's either Nas, Most Def, or Kanye West, or Chris is not gonna even have one bite of the free mozzarella sticks they send over.
You know what? I've lost my appetite.
You know what? I've lost my appetite. I'm sorry. Are you playing Chief Keef? Oh, no, I'm sorry. This isn't Dusty enough. Speaking of Dusty, Jason. Speaking of Dusty.
Do you have anything? Yeah, I'll ask my sommelier tonight.
Do you have anything Dusty?
When I ask what the price range is, and she says between $30 and several thousands of dollars, I'll ask if there's something Dusty from the menu that she can recommend, and we'll go from there.
Our friends at Pitchfork know about Dusty because they just announced their festival lineup.
Yeah, Sunday is their Dusty Day, but yeah, what do we...
You got the Roots headlining in 2022. Bro, the Roots are a house band on a late night show. Like, that is, like Questlove is a cookbook author and still wears that ugly ass pin. Like that, like this shit is not, it's just weird because a brand that has built itself.
He's got a lot of brooches, sure.
A brand that has built itself strictly on relevancy, and one that I look at Pitchfork every day, but like to have the Roots, the National, who I love, but haven't put out a good record in at least 5 to 8 years, and Mitski, who I want to like Mitski, but I don't get it. I really don't get it.
She was in the news recently for saying that she doesn't want her fans to take flash photography at her concerts, which is just, someone in her camp needs to tell her that that's not going to go well on the internet.
Well, I think it was also video. I think there's still now these artists are like, we're back and we want to share this moment with you. And I'm like, yeah, bro, but you know what I want to share more?
What's that?
Is the money that the fans pay to see the show. If you want to if you want to pay $40 to see me at Brooklyn Steel, then you could take a couple flicks. You know what I'm saying? You can, in fact, you can record whole fucking songs. I don't care.
What about, what do you think about this? Because obviously everyone has a limit where you're going too far. Hers is you can take a pic, but no flash, no video. But she's been kind of conveniently silent on where she stands with the Apple Live photos, because that, that is a little bit of a gray area.
That's the combination of the best of both worlds, Jason. But the boomerang king of Atwater, then jeans, has transferred now to the Apple Live photo king of Glendale.
Yeah, maybe that'll be my in with Mitski. I'm going to ask her. Where do we stand on boomerangs? Because that's a big part of my life and my creative process.
Yeah.
And for you to cripple that.
Yeah, that doesn't feel good. But yeah,
it seems unfair.
But Spiritualized is also playing, so that hopefully means that Spiritualized is going to be touring, and we can go get blissed out to the boys.
Mm-hmm. You have a cute way of calling overdosing blissed out. That's nice language.
Jason, if I could overdose, if I could have a light overdose to Spiritualize with if they had a full orchestra, I'm willing to. That's about as good as it's going to get for me.
I like the phrase light overdose. Is that just another way of saying high? Because technically a light overdose is just getting high, right?
Well, no, Jason. There's look, getting high, man. If you're doing it right, sometimes you're pushing the limits a little further than other times. You know what I'm saying, Chief?
Yeah, and that's a light overdose.
Light overdose is like you shake a little bit, maybe you don't feel great, but then you come out of it. You don't want to end up in the hospital. You want to be there for the encore. Yeah,
and that's something that that I wanted to, or that I've been hearing other people talk about their fear of getting high because they don't want to freak out or they don't want to get scared or whatever. And I've heard people talk about it. Joe Rogan being the most vocal about it, about saying,
bro, he's got a bodyguard to stop him from doing. I read a story today. I think she was maybe a beauty queen. She apparently was high on cannabis. And got so freaked out that she got so freaked out high on cannabis that she sprinted and jumped over a 3rd floor balcony. Just ran right through it.
So why did you say high on cannabis in a very kind of Fox News kind of way?
Because that's how I read. That's how it was reported. Where I think in the New York Post where I read it, because obviously the media loves to say cannabis because they're narcs. I would never use that term.
See, that sounds like you would never use that term. This was you were just speaking in context.
I'm saying cannabis or flower. I know you do it in jest, but I feel like you could if you don't watch yourself, Jason.
Oh. It's something I have to keep an eye on for sure. Just like my blood pressure, I also have to keep an eye on, how ironic I am using the word flower. But he'll bring up this subject often where it's his theory that getting high on cannabis shouldn't always be a walk in the park. Like it should be difficult sometimes and it should be challenging sometimes. And that's kind of, every drug, has its downsides. Nothing is truly perfect.
That's true.
A high don't come for free.
Shout out to Mike Skinner. I know you're listening out there. I know you're listening to this podcast, Mike.
Let's push things forward. But I definitely agree with him where you're kind of, and that goes back to his kind of alpha male outlook on life, is you kind of are being a pussy, and you are quitting and giving up too easily if you have one freak out on marijuana and you suddenly write it off for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. When it's given you so much.
No, that's true.
If you have a freak out on marijuana, then that is not marijuana's fault. That's your fault, and you need to work on yourself.
Oh, I like that. So basically, you're a pussy, and no matter how much you freak out, you have to return to the well and have another sip to prove that you're a man.
Well, it's like somebody being like, hey, why don't you deadlift 500 pounds? And then you attempt it, and you're like, that was really fucking hard. I'm not going to try it again. Mm-hmm. You're giving up, essentially. So you have to
Jason,
put in the work, and eventually you'll get there.
The thing you don't understand about me, fam, is giving up ain't in my vocabulary. You know what I mean? And that's
right, Chris.
That's what it says in my Nike commercial that's dropping tomorrow, but I wanted to go ahead and give a little preview over here.
Yeah, giving up, those words, Chris speak give up in his native tongue, but luckily the big man upstairs knows when to pull the plug.
That's right.
For Chris when he's unable to.
I pull the plug when the roots come on the stereo. God pulls the plug for me. It goes both ways, man. It goes. Thank God we all have somebody looking out for us. That's all I can say about that. We do. Mm-hmm. Oh, thank God we have an Australian guest today.
Speaking of drugs,
there's nothing better than when we have an Australian guest. We love the motherland. You guys probably know Alex Cameron. He's a musician from Sydney,
but I think he's in New York now.
Yeah, he is. I like his music a lot. We're also, full disclosure, we are label mates. Mm-hmm. So I just want to get that out in front. I want to get out in front of that if I could.
But Jason, because that, we're not going to interview him in any different way. He's not getting a free lunch just because we're label mates and members of an elite group of secretly artists,
of other musicians. But yeah, I looked at his I first of all, I had heard of him before and heard his music before, and I do like it. But then when I was talking to Kevin Morby was like, "You got to have Alex on. He's the best. He's the coolest." And I was like, okay. And then it came around full circle. Like somebody else hit me about it separately from his team. So I was like, all right, it's meant to be.
You Let's have that many organic discoveries, and Chris's ears perk up.
Exactly. And then the most organic discovery is my man has written some songs for the best band in the world, The Killers. So there's this, it's full circle for me completely today. Mm-hmm. And Jason's going to once again have to suffer through me talking about guitars with someone, but luckily this person is Australian, so he'll have fun too.
I feel like it's International Chris's Day with all with the CV that this podcast guest comes with.
Hey, look, man. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, and one day when we have a DJ on, that'll be the day that I lose.
No, we've had many DJs on, and boy, were they all great. DJ Python, what a legend, right?
That's a good point. DJ Python transcended the art of DJing to me, though. He was beyond. I think of him as more of an enigma and like a a cloud of smoke almost more so than
the fact that he makes great electronic music. That's just icing on the cake.
Yeah, I've never heard that part, but I like talking to him a lot. So, all right, let's give.
If he worked at Home Depot, we'd still have him on the pod, is what I'm saying.
Honestly, that's true. Yeah, he's part of the community now. All right, let's give Alex a jingle and go down to New South Wales.
Yeah, cunt. Hey guys, Jason here for a quick disclaimer. We unfortunately had some technical difficulties with our Zoom recording, and we had to upload our backup recording. Unfortunately, this means we don't get to edit it and make it sound as crispy and good as we normally would. So the quality of audio is not going to be amazing, but we can still hear it and enjoy the conversation. Alex is a really, really funny guy and a great guest, and it's a really good episode, and we feel bad that this happened to him and to you guys, but, won't happen again. I have punished Chris for his errors, and he feels really bad. So hopefully this does not ever happen again, and thank you guys for your patience and understanding. So here's our great talk with Alex. Let's get into it. Alex, welcome. I know you've done a lot of Zoom calls and things like this. Mostly you mentioned for court appearances and less for podcasts. What kind of crimes are we up to lately?
Well, they're just there's a couple of compensation cases that I'm involved in that I can't really speak about at the moment.
Okay. Okay. Is this songwriting tiffs between top liners, or is this a custody battle with a baby mama situation?
This is workplace.
Okay.
OH&S.
Yeah. I suffer. I've had a lot of workplace harassment lawsuits actually in this exact workplace, so I kind of know where you're coming from.
Right.
I tell you what, the court system has really slowed to a bloody halt during COVID. They're not helping it. They're not helping us out.
I became very litigious during the quarantine, and Chris has been kind of getting the business end of those lawsuits. And it's I will say it's kind of messed up our mojo on this show.
I think you got to leave it. You got to keep it separate. I always thought that even if a close friend ends up suing me one day, I'd like to think we could still go for a meal afterwards. And
yeah. No, I think that's you have an enlightened approach, and I think that's something that I could maybe learn from you.
Wish I could be more like you, Alex.
Just like nothing personal, it's like shit. Keep business separate.
Yeah.
Okay. So have you always had this enlightened attitude and outlook on life, or did you get this way because of drug use? Those are the only two options.
Those are. I think. I used to be really sort of. I guess one thing I think about a lot is like sort of jealousy and envy. And
jealousy.
I would, yeah. Now we're talking.
You wrote that one too, didn't you?
If I wrote that one, I would not be sitting in this room. I'll tell you that much.
You might be talking to us, but we'd be required to remove our clothing at some point in exchange for tokens.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly right.
Sorry. Carry on.
I think about jealousy and the young, the tension of being like a young, excitable person, and how everything is so big and important. And there was like a Leonard Cohen song that like I actually felt my brain change when I heard it. It's called it's the Paper Thin Hotel. It's off the record Death of a Ladies Man. And he sings, I think the chorus is like, the song is about a guy checking into a hotel room and hearing his partner having sex with someone else in the room next door.
Oh, yes.
And the lyric is, what is it?
The struggle mouth to mouth and limb to limb, the grunt of unity when he came in.
Yep. Keep going.
I stood there with my ear against the wall. I was not seized by jealousy at all.
Keep going.
In fact, a burden lifted from my soul.
And here it is.
And I heard that love was out of my control.
Damn, that's deep, Lenny.
Yeah, he goes there. And I don't know, I guess I've started to just place less of an emphasis on, whether or not I was in control of like anything, whether that be like other people or even my own feelings. And I certainly started to consider that I can't really have any great big impact on how long a feeling lasts for even. So I'd like to think that I'm I speak like I have any kind of authority on the matter. Really, I'm a wreck, but I'd like to think that I'm a little more lucid in the way.
I'm sure Lenny Cohen was a wreck at the time too, but
yeah, no doubt.
He poured out some poetry, didn't he?
Yeah, he certainly did. Oh my God, I even like tweaked or like pinched a nerve in your shoulder.
From doing what?
We've tweaked and pinched a lot.
Are you kidding? My body as an athlete, my body is constantly in pain, but luckily I have a kind of a staff to take care of that. But maybe, you know how you guys have like guitar techs and stuff? I kind of have something similar for my body.
He has a tweak tech. Right. Every time he gets a little tweak in it. So what is this clean and jerk? Is this a over row? Just a regular old bicep curl? What was it?
I was playing drums on a record in LA last week, and I'm very suspicious of that. I haven't been like, you know, treating myself to any, you know, self-love in any excess.
Okay.
Lately.
So you play drums as well. You were hired to play drums.
These Australians do it all, Chris. You'll see that.
It's fucking crazy.
I'm not like a hired gun. I'm like a hired knife, like a hired spoon.
Like
you're a hired kind of like a pretty good body shot punch kind of thing.
Yes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Like just sort of like,
that really hurt, man. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like that's
yeah.
And there is value to that, you know.
Absolutely.
Speaking of self-love, and I think going to LA, especially coming from, you're in New York now, I'm assuming,
right?
Coming from frosty, snow-covered hills of New York City into sunny California, that seems like self-care to me. What kind of stuff did you do here, other than injuring yourself? Going,
yeah, very eagerly. I thought, oh, I'm gonna really show. I haven't played drums in so long, and I speaking
they're
of
like, yeah, let's get this guy. He hasn't played in years.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get a real rusty sort of Australian man to come and play the rhythm on our record. People can't see it at home, but I speaking of compensation, I broke both my wrists in 2019.
Oof.
I fell. Scaffolding collapsed underneath me, and I fell. Like,
were you doing an inspection? Were you doing an inspection on one of your properties in Crown Heights, or was this a social call?
Right. Well, it was, unfortunately, the poetic justice was elsewhere. But I'm lucky I didn't break my neck. I didn't break my legs or anything. I just broke my hands.
How far was this fall? And we don't have to talk about the details if it's a trigger.
It's you know, if I walk past the construction site and hear loud clangs, I am reminded of the fateful day. But it was one story. I felt one story I was told.
Damn, that sucks. Especially as a musician, huh? Or just any person in general.
Well, it's kind of cool actually, because now when people ask me like, or like hand me a guitar, I'm like, sorry, you know, I can't play anymore. Even though originally
I thought maybe
just how everyone's blaming COVID on everything. You're blaming. You fell off of a building and broke both of your hands.
It's just not like it used to be, you know.
This sounds like it would have been a great opportunity for you to kind of get into rapping, and I you know, just kind of
I
a
think
different,
you probably did,
or maybe scat poetry or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I was throwing my voice like never before.
Way to channel that.
People talk about like, you know, the first thing people go to is like, oh, what, you know, like you couldn't wipe your ass because I had 2 casts on my hand. You know, I bet you could masturbate, or, you know, it must have been awkward. The hardest thing is just opening a door. Think about it. You cannot open a door.
Yeah, we got to start at the beginning. We can't. People are skipping ahead to all this stuff.
There's a lot of different ways to have a cum. A lot of different ways.
Yeah,
you know,
I know you don't seem like
involved.
Yeah, you don't seem like a jerk off guy to me. You seem like a toppy only guy. So you were fine. You were good. You were good to go.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen the movie Big. If you really need to lay a melody down, you can get one of those keyboards that you play with your feet. There's workarounds, but simply opening a door, or slicing open an avocado. Oh, brother. That's tough.
Yeah.
Don't bring up avocado, Jason. He's gonna get emotional. Don't do that.
Speaking of trigger,
I love it. It's what do they say? It's like the fish of the sea. No, it's the fish of the land. No, did they say fish of the avocados of the sea? I don't know. Apparently, they're both really good for you.
They're great. It's good fats. I know that's something you're focused on. I know you're focused on those high quality fats. Well, I mean, we talked to. You're familiar with fellow musician Dashboard Confessional, I'm sure.
I am ashamed to say that I know the name.
But he told us that he got in a motorcycle accident. He severed his biceps, and he had to relearn to play guitar because he lost muscle memory.
Holy shit!
Like
it's the craziest
straight up,
ever.
like he knew, like mentally, obviously, like how to play guitar, and like that's a G, that's an A minor, or whatever. But like his arms just wouldn't do it, so he had to start from the very scratch, like House of the Rising Sun guitar tab type shit.
You know what's interesting about that? He kind of had the experience, I guess, of what it's like to have information downloaded into your brain, like the Matrix. Like he had all the musical knowledge, but none of the
Mozart level.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
he had the computer. He just didn't have the monitor. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh my goodness. No, well, I certainly wasn't, and I don't think I had any great skill before. I mean, writing, I had to write, you know, like didn't have to learn to write again, but I just didn't write for like 2 years. I only just started doing handwriting again.
Not writing songs. You're talking about like literally writing like your name on a
I like that. I like that. I just started handwriting again. I like that.
Yeah. Before you were just kind of typing with your nose, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Well, just one finger at a time. It was like a grandma, you know.
Damn.
But I one thing that I was, when I broke my wrist, I would, speaking of construction sites, when I walked past, one time I walked past a construction site, and a guy yelled out, "Did you do that at work?" And I said, "Yeah." And he just yelled out, "100K per bone, man."
That's good advice. I mean, I think.
So how much did you get for your wrists? A lot of bones in there.
Cannot comment.
Because I'm looking at this studio, and I'm not seeing a lot of custom gear in there. So I'm thinking you can make off.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, I don't own any of this stuff. It's all online. I'm about to get kicked out. This is the last bit of last hour in here.
Coming down to the wire. Well,
hour.
I guess that's good that you are getting some scratch out of the deal. I've only had one injury like that where I broke my ankle and I was hobbled for a few months, unable to work. Did you gain weight or did you lose weight during your time of
That's a really good question. I got a text from my brother about a year ago that was just like, he'd found a group photo that had been taken at a social event, and he zoomed in on my face, so it was like become pixelated, and he just said, "You're fat."
In a way that only a brother could say.
Yeah. So I think I gained weight. Yeah.
Well, that's probably because you were, laid up, you were eating ice cream, taking Vicodin. It's not
exactly.
You weren't really at your peak. This is a low moment.
I ended up losing weight, and I was very shocked because all I did all day was just lay around the house and watch TV. And then in terms of food, I mean, there was zero exercise. And then in terms of food, I was sort of at the whim of delivery food. Or if
your ankle?
Yeah, I broke my ankle.
Wow, what's that like?
Well, luckily I didn't have to get surgery.
It was a DJing injury, if you must ask.
But it was a DJ. I was literally DJing at the club, and I wasn't sober, but I wasn't, I never get like ripping blacked out drunk. I was literally in the middle of DJing. And I had to take a squirt real bad, and I wasn't going to be able to make it to the end of my 45-minute set. So I put on a long Tiesto track, and I ran out of the booth to go to the restroom, and I slipped, like somebody spilled a drink on the dance floor, and I just slipped and like kind of hit it in just the right way to where it just went out from underneath me, and then I got back up off the ground, and I couldn't put pressure on it, and that was it.
He couldn't even two-step to his own set, so he had to go to the hospital. He had to go see
funky chicken for you, pal.
Well, I mean, the funkiest of chickens. So funky in fact that I was cobbled for a few, but I was sort of at the whim of delivery food, or if my friend was in the neighborhood and he was nice enough to pick up In-N-Out or something like that, he'll bring it over for lunch or something. But I ended up losing probably 20 pounds because I didn't drink alcohol the whole time. And that was in the middle of a pretty good bender run for me. And
how booze just like is a balloon.
Yeah. And people would come over and be like, "Wow, you look great. What's going on?" And I'm like, I ate Thai food, and then I took a nap, and then I watched Top Chef. And
this was a dark period for you. I forget about it sometimes.
I mean, it's going to be and I was living alone.
Do you remember the feeling of the bone breaking? Like, because there's a very different kind of pain to the
Well,
pain.
the pain that I remember more specifically was because when I went to the hospital, it was just like I didn't know what had happened yet because I'm not a doctor, obviously, but it was very swollen and it was looking kind of fucked up. And then they're like, yeah, your shit is fractured and broken. So they had
I thought those were two words that meant a very similar thing.
They do, like, it was like some shit was broken and then some shit was like fractured and out of place. So I guess the point that I was trying to make is that before they put the cast on, they had to reset the ankle to be in the right position because it had sort of dislocated itself. So they had to take my broken ankle, which was very painful, and be like, and then they're able to put a cast on. But I remember that sound and feeling of them resetting it. I was on a drug called Dilaudid that was administered via
Dilaudid.
Dilaudid.
Show some respect. Show some respect.
So they had,
is like God's.
Yeah. I was in the ER and they had me on the morphine drip and I kept hitting the button and I was like, this ain't doing shit, fam. Let me get an ass shot. And they're like, all right, bet. And they give me an ass shot and I was like, I feel something, but it's not really doing it. So then they put a IV drip into my ankle. They found a vein in my foot, put the IV in there, and then the Dilaudid goes in. And while he has my broken ankle, I could feel and hear all the bones like super fucked up sounds. And we were laughing. We were talking because it was at USC hospital, and they're like, man, because I'm really tall, and they're like, oh, could have used you on the court of the Lakers game yesterday, buddy, huh? And we're like having a good time. And it's like it's pain that would have Dwayne the Rock Johnson just in tears. Yeah. And I was just like, felt like I was on vacation in Acapulco. That's how good this shit felt.
It's insane, right? Because when I broke both my wrists and I was on the ground when the paramedics arrived. They one of them walked out because it was just like they were like, oh,
like it was
walks in, sees you, and goes up.
Like it was too it was too gnarly for a professional.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, geez, thanks, man. I'm the one here with like the lobster claws, like, and this, but. So when I went to the hospital, finally, they were like, look, both of your wrists are basically like the bones have just been completely scattered. Like you've basically melted your wrist here.
Right.
The doctor said to me, we're going to give you Michael Jackson's Night Night mix, which was.
Oh, we lost him.
Oh, no.
Damn,
cliffhanger.
I was really ready for that. I thought he was going to. That better not be available on SoundCloud.
Michael Jackson's Night Night mix. Okay. Let's look up his drug cocktail.
Alex texted me in the middle of this saying, I would love for you to explain to me how someone can be a toppy guy and not a masturbation guy.
Ooh, damn. This is the downside of having a great room, isn't it?
It really is. This room ain't so great anymore.
Jackson was being injected twice a day with Demerol, coupled with twice a day 3 milligram dose of Dilaudid, along with injections of Vistriol. He also took 250 milligrams a day of Xanax.
Oh, baby, 250?
250 of Xanax, 20 milligrams of Prozac, 100 milligrams of Zoloft.
Jesus Christ.
As well as the anti-indigestion drug Prilosec.
Well, your tum-tum is going to be a little knotted up when you're on all those PKs.
And he also got just a little something to balance it out, 10 milligrams of Ritalin on top, just to make sure he can keep his eyes open.
Yeah, I was about to say, that just keeps you alive at that point. That's not even...
so your heart remembers to beat.
Yeah, you got to do something. That's smart.
Okay. So
Alex. So they said Michael Jackson's Night Night medicine.
Yeah, his Night Night mix, which which is ketamine and propofol, and I've since like been like fantasizing about finding a way to like maybe for like my 40th birthday or something, all my friends go into a room and a nurse comes in and gives us that mix, because it was insane.
What was the first? The first thing was ketamine, and then the second thing was what?
I believe it's called propofol, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
And that's just like a very strong painkiller, Chris. Is that right?
I believe so. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, it might be I think. Yeah, I'm not totally sure, but I've heard that thrown around.
It was
propofol, marketed as Diprivan, is a short-acting medication to result in decreased levels of consciousness and a lack of memory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
even cooler.
It causes relaxation.
So in order to operate on my hand, they had to like do the thing you're talking about, which is reset it a little bit, because they couldn't just go in and start looking for splinters. They had to like push it. And
so it was a bag of crisps that had been crushed, and they had to put all the chips back together. Okay.
Exactly. That's a really, really good image. So apparently, and I was just there, I was like, my business partner, Roy Malloy, was there, and he said that I was saying ow, and I guess I thought I was screaming, but I was like, ow. That really hurts. That's
okay. So in your mind, you're screaming in agony.
Yeah.
And then whatever's coming out is just like, stop.
Yeah. So it was like the pain had been like the center. It was a very sort of like lucid experience of the pain not being able to reach my brain. It was like trying to, but there was something just blocking it out.
Computer without the monitor.
Yeah. It was really, really special.
What was the recovery time on this?
Well, I guess what I was really surprised by, I guess.
From when you hit the sidewalk to when you had your first wank, how many days are we talking?
Okay. Let's say, I want to say like, most likely at least 12 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
But my,
not bad.
I don't know. She won't mind me saying this, but my girlfriend, you know, luckily at the time had a thing for like the casts.
Yeah. Oh, the casts.
She was kind of like, because when I noticed,
you know, I've been down this road before as well, Alex.
Because when I recovered and you know took the braces off and the casts off, one night she was like, "Oh, you can keep them on." And I was like,
"Do you still? Did she make? I'm just picturing her down on the street fishing the casts out of the garbage can at night after you've gone to bed, just in case."
Yeah, totally.
Just keep them around.
If I ever came home and just found the casts sort of like strewn across the bedroom floor, I know that she was like having an afternoon to herself.
Yeah, she had to do what she had to do.
Yeah.
Because normally when I think of like that type of kink, you know, amputees, casts, crutches, wheelchairs, you know, it kind of goes down a sinister, like Marilyn Manson kind of Gigi Allen road where
Crispin Glover.
Yeah, exactly. You know, the dark corners of the male mind. But I think on the female side, you know, to celebrate International Women's Day, I think it's a much more kind of just a healthy, normal relationship of like, you know what? I don't know why I like it. Maybe it's, you know, I can fix him, a man in need.
Like a real I can fix him. Not emotional, not emotional, but like a physical I can fix him.
Right. I think there's also like,
there's something cute about a fella that can't do much.
Probably this is more coming from me. I'm projecting a little bit here, but I think there's an element of like, oh, you shouldn't be able to properly fuck me. You're gonna, you know.
Yeah.
Like you need this so bad. Look at you.
Yeah, you don't have a
door.
You can't even open the door.
Yeah.
There was no surgery, no cast anywhere near the penis area. So
right, that thing's still going. So like, it's like the nurse and the war vet. It's like, how bad do you want this?
Yeah, you're Lieutenant Dan. I get it now.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, that happened to me. I was not in a relationship, so it was a little bit different. It was maybe less sweet and caring and more of just a regular old, I want to fuck that guy who has a cast on kind of vibe, which is also pretty cool,
That's cool that you can go to a bar with a cast and have someone go like, there's my type.
Yeah, yes.
I know. He's usually getting those NBA wife cast-offs, but no pun intended. But once he had, Jason, did you wear a proper cast, or did you have like an air cast?
I had, because I opted to go no surgery, I had a cast that was my entire leg. It went from my foot to my upper thigh, like a Fenty Savage boot kind of thing.
I was about to say that's current season Bottega.
Current season Bottega. It was in white, not in green. But I remember I went. It was like I was sort of like on the tail end. I was probably a couple months in, and some of my friends were like, "Come on, just come out." Some of our friends are DJing at the spot. It'll be easy and chill.
It's tenants on a Thursday, Jason. You missed it for 8 weeks.
There's plenty of chairs and booths. It's like a loungy vibe. It's not like we're going to go to Bergheim at 5 a.m. type of shit. It'll be very easy. And I remember going in and everyone was just like, oh, it's so good to see you out, man. Like, I feel like I just got out of prison or something.
And were you on crutches at this point?
I had crutches, yeah. I had crutches.
Even hotter.
Right? Even hotter. And I was just, I was very out of sorts and a little embarrassed and just kind of being very sheepish. And then everyone wanted to buy me a drink, and I hadn't drank in a long time. And next thing you know, I'm having to call one of my friends to come pick me up from a random house in Echo Park. It was a good time.
That's wonderful. See, I think on the spectrum of like, attractiveness, hotness, the original cast, just the white plaster master.
Exactly.
is the hottest. And then like down the other end of the spectrum is the sort of stormtrooper moon boot thing. Yeah. That's getting you nothing.
No,
I would say that's doing the opposite of what the full leg plaster. But I feel like I don't see the plaster that much anymore.
No, it's not as common. But because of the way all the ligaments were all twisted around, I couldn't like rotate my leg or my knee in any way, or it could fuck up the thing. But I'm glad that I did it, and I feel good now.
I'm glad you did it. I think I remember an ex-girlfriend of mine, she broke her kneecap. She fell off a fence and broke her kneecap. And
was she sneaking into Coachella? You couldn't get her an artist pass? That's crazy, bro.
It was the splendor in the grass, Chris. Wrong continent.
Oh, I apologize.
Unfortunately, she was sneaking into her own home. She'd lost her keys. And just sort of fell and broke her kneecap. And
what happens when you break a kneecap?
It just
outside of the obvious.
It split in two like an egg. It just went doink, and they had to just wrap metal around it, like sort of like barbed wire, and just like glue it together. And she was like was straight legged for a long time. Mm-hmm. But we still managed to be intimate.
When there's a will, there's a way, Alex.
Yeah. You said that straight leg ain't a problem for me.
No, exactly.
So what is your current relationship with drugs? It seems like obviously your album has songs about drug use. You talk about ketamine in a song called K-Hole. The actual album itself is called Oxy Music, which I assume is like a funny riff on Roxy Music. Right. Chris, our co-host, he actually overdosed on Oxycontin about 5 years ago. I'm just wondering, you thought there was something funny about that, Alex?
Yeah, no, I think that shit's. I was gonna just keep going with the fact that it was funny, but no, it's. I mean, for me, like the whole. What I'm interested in doing is like finding points that are like culturally contentious, and maybe even the idea that something that is so prevalent in society can be so also like it's always something that's happening to someone else as far as the majority of people are concerned, even though it's everywhere. And so when I'm trying to find things to write about, I just want to find characters that I find people are potentially willfully or willingly misunderstanding, like consciously being like, well, that's just because they're bad people. So the idea of writing songs from the perspective more or less of someone really sort of in the throes of substance abuse is just to get some perspective on what those stories actually mean and how it can affect, why a person would do it, how it can affect a person.
Let me tell you why, because it feels good. And you guys, we covered that. We covered that in the first part of this podcast. I just want to reiterate that it does feel good.
Yeah. I think that's part of it, right? People just assume like that. I think one of the biggest assumptions is that people get into, in my experience, it was harder to start the habit than it was to put it down. There's a lot of circumstances that go in to really developing a habit with these kinds of drugs, and it's not.
Well, look, we're on Jaguar, so we know the advances are a little bit low, and that can be kind of an issue when it comes to purchasing drugs. So if you need to borrow some money, you just let us know.
I appreciate that. I'm on Secretly. It's the more sort of historic kind of
yes,
brand.
I see what you mean.
It's the main hub. I'm closer to the bank, so
it's good to know that they have banks in Indianapolis. You know what I mean? That's good to know.
I guess. Well, I mean, overall, I think there's a big divide between the way that drugs are perceived and the actual sort of the real culture of it all, and ever since I was a kid, I remember thinking that the way they were teaching us about drugs was so backwards, because I had a friend pass away. She died really young from drugs, and it was ultimately because she was scared to tell an adult that she had taken it.
Yeah.
Because it was just like no and nothing else.
Yeah.
And I even at 16, I was like, this is horseshit. We shouldn't be teaching kids that it's just a bad thing that you just don't do. And maybe this is now obvious, but for me, for my entire adult life, I've just been like, we need to actually be okay with even just talking about this between generations,
Yeah, I think it's changing to an extent, but I think for a lot of people, it's just such a foreign concept. You know what I mean? Because it's been hammered home that like, if you do crack, you're poor and you're going to die, or whatever, and it's like, that's a hard thing to unlearn. But I do think that even like the like level of knowledge around like Narcan and shit now, like that would have never, like, there are people I know in New York that keep Narcan like in their purse when they're out, because they know, like that kind of shit would have.
And they don't even do drugs.
Yeah, they don't even do drugs. They just want to help if somebody ODs. You know what I mean? Which is like that's really very different than the way we're probably similar age, the way that we grew up.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think I went to a party at someone's, I guess it was their Christmas party, and it was in their place of work in like this big sort of warehouse studio, and I was just wandering about as you do, like exploring the place, and they had like a little shelf that had Narcan on it, just sitting there like in one of the offices, and there was a big label just said Narcan, and it wasn't like, I think that, if there's a big part of the record, I suppose, for me anyway, if I'm thinking about like why I wrote these songs, is just like as an indication that it's got far less to do with, on a personal level, it has everything to do with the individual, but on a societal level, it's very much a culture thing, and I was pretty. I've been really surprised and impressed with the amount of bands that are providing Narcan at shows, just at the merch table. It's like something that I'm like feel good about doing myself as well. It shows not doing Narcan, but I feel good about providing it for people at the shows.
So do you have it available at your shows as well?
We're organizing that now. Yeah, we're putting it together for the US run. I mean, I was wondering if it's like it certainly is less of a problem in Europe, but it's still there. But I'm not sure how readily available it is. I think it's
it feels very American. I would agree with you.
Yeah, so we're focusing on the American tour at the moment.
But I gotta say, if I went
squeaky wheel gets the grease.
If I went to an Alex Cameron show, Jason, I don't know about you, but I think I'm bringing cocaine. That feels more appropriate personally.
Right. Well, I do get a bit of a gurn on stage. I don't drink or do any drugs before I go on stage. I go on completely like bone dry.
Really?
And because I used to drink before shows, and because I would get stage fright or nervous, and I would think, oh, the booze helps, get the Dutch courage. And it just makes you more nervous. Your heart rate goes up because you're dehydrated. There's a lot of, I had to be taught this by someone.
And it makes those fingers move not quite as quickly as you'd like them to.
Right. Yeah. It's all, and the voice, the whole thing just falls to pieces. And then I had a friend tell me, like, you don't get drunk to go to the gym, and you're up on stage dancing. So it was like,
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah. Exactly. You don't want to be on that rowing machine, that erg.
Yeah. Jason had 2 pints before he hit the elliptical and did not end well.
Yeah. Amazing.
I have gotten blacked out drunk and gone to the gym just to see what happened, and we got kicked out.
I don't doubt it.
But yeah, that is a good point, and I agree with that, because you are working hard on stage. It was a little bit different for me as a DJ, because you're not working quite as hard. You are able to do it pretty drunk.
Well, if I'm DJing, I'm definitely gonna have a drink, just because I like to have a couple of drinks when I'm listening to loud music.
Big for you to admit, Jason, that a DJ is actually not a musician. I'm glad that you finally, after 20 years.
I didn't say that. I said we're not working quite as hard as Alex might be.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's more
depending on how many decks you have going at once.
No, but I remember when I managed a band, and we would be partying backstage. I'm doing coke and I'm wasted, and they're all doing it with me. And then I'm like, oh, you guys, you're about to go perform for an hour, and I can barely like have a conversation. So I don't.
And I'm gonna have a tough time holding my BlackBerry for the next hour. And you have to like perform for thousands.
But I feel like I think it's just like practice. Like once you get to a certain point, that's just like, if that's how you do it, that's how you do it, and you black out basically and just do it for an hour, and then it's over.
Yeah, it does. The more shows you do, I'm sure the more capable I was slowly becoming, being extremely drunk on stage. But I just started to really,
not a skill that you want to really get super amazing at.
It's like when you slowly start to realize that you're not getting hungover anymore, and for a second you're like, this is awesome, and then really quickly afterwards you're like, oh, but wait, that's bad.
I'm not hungover because I require alcohol to just be normal now.
That's bad.
Yeah.
Well, much like going to the gym afterwards, we like to reward ourselves with a nice smoothie or a tuna fish sandwich. So after you're done with your stage show, how are you rewarding yourself if you're going up bone dry?
I like to have a nice cold beer.
Hummus, some crudité, some hummus.
Yeah, you know it.
Yeah, that's nice.
That's part of the course.
So a cold one, lager.
I like to pretend I'm sort of like in the dressing room after maybe like a tough game of rugby league or like a 5-day test match. I like to get that atmosphere going. Like, well done, everybody. Cheers. Hey, well done out there.
We're all wiping the blood and the grass out of our.
Yes, it's very sweaty. A cold beer after a show is something that I'll never get.
Cold beer, a nice long pull off of that Juul.
Yeah, a nice. I just started on this Juul, and it's. I think it's awful. I think it's really bad for me.
What flavor are you rocking with?
It's the Virginia tobacco flavor. That's what I was encouraged to start.
Yeah, that's what I would do too. I used to Juul, no longer, but I do miss it sometimes. I'm assuming that you did it to stop smoking cigarettes, or was it? I
think it just somehow slowly morphed into it. I was never a big smoker, but it just.
I think this is why Juuls got banned, guys, is because teenagers never smoked cigarettes before. They just Juuled and then became extremely addicted to the pina colada flavor. And they got popcorn lung, and then they died. So I think that's kind of.
It's not the popcorn; it's the nicotine. And
I think
popcorn lung doesn't happen too often. Okay, it's in very rare cases.
I'm sorry. I was misinformed.
It's still better for you than having a cheeky cig, that's for sure. But the problem is, I could do it indoors, and then when I can do it indoors, Daddy doesn't stop sucking on that thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think this is not a long-term solution for my vacuous mind. It's just
when do you
That's
leave?
They all say, sweetheart. That's what they all say.
Yeah.
When do you leave for tour?
So we start rehearsals in Brussels on the 16th. March.
Listen to this guy, Jason. He's starting rehearsals in Brussels. Some of us have to do that at a soundstage in Hollywood, maybe East Hollywood. This guy's going to Europe to kind of get
Yeah, I gotta get like acclimatized, and also just get ready for like a shocking diet of like bread and cheese, just like to line the stomach with like heavy dairy and processed meats.
They don't have any sweet greens over there in Brussels. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They try, but it's just like
it's just canned beets, canned beetroot.
It's like eating salad at like a 1950s dinner party. Like they bring out like prawn or shrimp jelly and like a big like whole lettuce.
Really, sir, did you order the whole lettuce? That's right. Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to, culturally it changes from place to place, obviously, but there are some places you go to and I think certainly Australia used to be like this. I used to think when I was a kid, I was just like, my uncle used to make these things. He'd call them moonies and he'd be like, eat your moonies. And I'd be like, it tastes like shit. I guess I just don't like vegetables. He would just like cut up a zucchini and grill it and then give us like straight, nothing on them, grilled zucchinis. And I was like the kid that apparently didn't like vegetables. It's like, no, motherfucker, I don't like your cooking.
Was it called a moonie because it was like a half moon shape?
Yeah, he would like cut them into some moon shape to make them more interesting. It's like, just add some salt.
Right. All you need to do is add a little salt.
Yeah.
Would it kill you to squeeze a bit of lime and a couple of glugs of some local olive oil?
Right. I'm not, maybe some balsamic. Let's
Calm down.
Sorry.
Okay. I understand. And I think the same thing happened to me when I was a child as well, of like, I don't want, once you eat a good vegetable, then you're like, oh, okay. I understand now.
Unfortunately, I didn't eat a good vegetable until I moved to California. That's what Jason told me.
No, that's not true. They have very good produce in Australia, don't they, Alan?
That's true. The motherland.
I would like to say I think we do have the best, across the board, the best food in the world.
Oh, here we go. If you start talking about the breakfast again, when it's just eggs and fucking toast. And
you said across the board. The best Texas barbecue, the best Sichuan.
Yeah, the steak frites in Melbourne are great.
Yeah. That's a good accent. That's a really good accent. I just think that Sydney has a really good Chinatown.
Yeah, they do.
And
no, we're just joking. I know a lot of great chefs in Australia, great chefs of Sydney. And they have a rich, diverse culture, and they do love their food, but they do also think that their food, especially their breakfast, is better than every other breakfast.
Yeah, there's a bit of smugness there and a little bit.
Whenever we have a guest on who's Australian, we like to bring it up of like, no one has been able to explain exactly why an Australian breakfast is better than a regular breakfast, other than it's just better.
It's just better.
Which is kind of like, I like that there is no reason.
I like it too. I like it.
The egg, it's just good. The yolks are yolkier.
Right.
The avos, avier.
It's just an English breakfast with avocado. It's not goodness, But, I think I have I certainly, when I started touring, I noticed, because I kind of put it down to the fact that Australia didn't really get hit thanks to the mining boom, the mineral boom in like the late 80s. Well, I don't know, sometime before the global financial crisis. We didn't really get hit by the GFC.
Okay.
Which I've now
also don't short form GFC. Somebody did that to me recently, and I'm like, that's not a thing. I've never heard that before.
Right.
Another Australian.
Yeah, that's a good point. It was Yayo. Yeah, it was another Australian.
Yeah, Yayo said that.
Funny that you say that, because when I went to London last time, I noticed that GFC actually stands for gluten-free chicken nugget.
I thought it was meant that was like the Gloucester Football Club, but it was a gluten-free.
It's probably all of those things, I think.
Yeah. You're right. I shouldn't belittle it.
Okay. So, anyways, back to the mining boom of the
we didn't really, on a cultural level, get hit by the global financial crisis.
Thank you for slowing it down for some of us.
No worries.
Thank you.
Well. So I think a bunch of Australians just started to like travel because there was all this like bullshit excess income. And then you have Australian cafes popping up in Berlin and in, all over the world. The funny thing about an Australian cafe in Berlin is that they're like trying to do the Australian experience, but the produce isn't there. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, what Australians are really talking about when they start bragging about their food is the fact that there's just a good climate to grow good produce, which is a similar climate to California in a lot of areas.
Mm-hmm. It's like opening a sushi spot in the middle of the desert.
Right?
You're only as good as your fish.
Yeah, you don't order Thai food when you're in like Boise.
So if I'm pretty familiar with the New York dining scene, especially when it comes to Australian owned restaurants. I would love to know what your favorite is, because they're all bad, so there's no good answer.
Right.
Come on, Chris. Come on.
I gotta say, I'm not a big restaurant guy. Full stop. I have a couple of places that I like to eat in New York.
What do you mean you're not a restaurant guy? Are you a big cook?
At home.
Yeah, I cook at home.
Well, I guess I understand that. I couldn't relate, but I do. At least you didn't say rubies. There's one wrong answer, and you didn't say. So you're good. You're off the hook. I didn't know you were sick in the kitchen, though.
Well, I am. Yeah.
Do you have a Joffle maker at home, Alex?
Jaffle.
Yeah.
Not here, but I did have one growing up, and they are extremely good. Do you guys have those here? Like a real good like toasted sandwich press that does the shape and everything, and you put.
Yeah, we call it a panini. I don't know if you've heard of that.
No. This is a special thing. Is
this an Australian exclusive?
Well, I remember my mom had one when I was a kid, like in the 80s. They had them where you would put like a piece of like white sandwich bread in, and then whatever filling you want, peanut butter and jelly, ham and cheese, you name it. Uh-huh. And then you put the other piece of bread on top, and it squishes it like a waffle press.
Oh, I see.
So then it crimps the sides and turns it into like a pizza pocket or like a hot pocket type of thing.
It also creases the center, so you can just rip it apart, and it becomes two sealed pockets.
Oh, sounds like empanadas to me. Cultural appropriation.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah.
You guys go ahead and steal.
But
that
I think
from
only
culture.
Australians call it a Joffle.
Yes, yeah.
Because is that a combination of waffle and another word?
No, the name comes from the creator of this invention, Dr. Ernest Smithers, who's from Bondi, New South Wales, who created and patented the Joffle iron back in the 50s.
Holy smokes!
Damn, I thought you guys had only given us avocado and Tame Impala, but this changes things.
No. Yeah, we've given you the Australian empanada, which often has like bolognese sauce in it.
Some Bondi bolognese.
It's called fusion, is what we like to call it, and it sounds pretty good to me.
The one thing you need to look out for, and Alex knows this, Chris doesn't. When you're making a Joffle, don't fill it up with heaps of ingredients, because you will spring a leak, and that's a mess to clean up.
Exactly. Well, that's very good knowledge there. You always do less than you think you're going to need, even though you're hungry. because you can always make
sure. So you can't jawful with an empty stomach because your eyes are going to be bigger.
You fuck it up. Yeah,
okay.
Do it just before you're really hungry.
What would you say, Alex? I'm a vegetarian, so if you could, what would be the perfect jaw? Like if I'm going to make one, what is the number one go-to ingredient for the jawful?
Well, you need cheese. You got to go cheese.
Okay.
I would probably try and make you a cheese and tomato. That would be really fucking good.
Would you be using sheep's milk cheese, goat's milk cheese, cow's milk cheese?
I would just use a sort of a sharp cheddar.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Straight down the middle. I'm not mad. Especially I know those tomatoes are probably picked from the vine behind your parents' house, so they're coming in fresh.
Juicy. Yeah, they're juicy.
Cheeky heirloom, some extra shop. That's going down a treat. I throw my leg over a jawful like that, brother.
Yeah.
What do you think about the meat pies that you cover with peas and mash? Do you like those?
So the peas and mash thing is more of an English tradition. In Australia, we just do ketchup, which we call tomato sauce. So it's like a meat pie. Classic is a 4 and 20 meat pie. Which is sort of minced meat, and then you just douse it. We actually got to the point where at school we would get like the ketchup containers, the big sort of like communal ones, and we would like jack it into the pie. So the real power move is to get the nozzle, puncture the top of the pie, and squeeze the sauce into it.
Like you're filling a stuffed donut?
Yes, exactly. So then it becomes this sort of like mess of ketchup and like offal, basically.
Well, I was talking. I mean, also, you've been to Harry's Cafe de Wheels before?
Yeah, he does the.
How does Harry do them, Alex?
Harry will put the mash and then create a hole in the mash and put the gravy in the hole and then put the peas on top, and that's great. But one time I was down there.
That's cute for you.
That's great. Harry can mind his own business as far as I'm concerned, but he does, I guess. But one time I was down there and a rat ran up my leg.
No, bro.
Up your car
up my leg to get to my pie. Yeah, not up the like.
He only touched the 501s. He didn't touch skin.
Ooh. Exactly. Yeah. It was so there's like a whole bunch of rats in that area that no one knows about. Sorry, Harry. But there's a
expose her, Queen. Expose her. And you got the rat receipts. Okay, so hopefully he gave you a free pie floater after that.
They're not the most talkative bunch. It's the whole. So it's like for people who don't know, it's like basically a caravan or like a trailer outside. Have you been? Are we talking to someone?
I have been, yeah. It's like a little roadside stand.
Exactly, yes.
It's not a brick and mortar.
No, it is not.
More of a kiosk, if you will.
Yes, exactly. And it's also covered in photos of the celebrities that visited there, I guess, in the 90s. Oh, yeah. So there's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Elton John and Danny
Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah, all the big names.
Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
Taika Waititi.
That's later, right? That's
later. That is later.
He might have been there, but I don't know if he's on the wall. He should be. I would put him on the wall.
I think he's done enough now. Yeah,
I'm not into behind the scenes guys making the wall.
I love going
that.
Above the line only for my wall.
Yes, exactly. Because you don't want people going like, and then having to read the signature and then
exactly. They have to know who it is.
He did lighting on Star Wars. I don't know if he needs the 8x10.
I mean,
exactly.
I mean, Spielberg is probably one of the only.
I'll allow it, but I'm not happy about it.
Maybe for a Hawaiian hotel, I'll do Spielberg. But yeah, otherwise,
yeah.
So what is your so you said that you were doing a great cocktail, the Michael Jackson Night Sleep, that did have ketamine in it, and you do have a song about K-holes. Do you do ketamine now? Is it a part of your life? And this is a safe space. The last episode, I talked about doing ketamine and giving the house a nice clean. So this is a ketamine positive podcast.
Well, I actually did ketamine. I did ketamine infusion therapy. Yes. For the first time at the end of last year. And And it was nothing short of amazing. It was absolutely incredible.
So this is where you go to an office and they give you an IV drip of the stuff.
Yeah, you go into I guess there are different experiences, and I would recommend making sure you know what you're getting into when you do it. I was recommended this place by someone, and they gave me a sort of a 90-minute sort of rundown of what the procedure exactly was, which is in the suite or the office that I went to, a lazy boy. So you're reclining, feet up, optional. IV drip. They have a heart rate monitor on your finger, and they take your blood pressure. And they
manage your vitals.
They manage your vitals.
Yeah.
And they manage your vitals.
I have a quick question. Are you managing my vitals during this procedure?
Yeah, exactly. It's got to be a question. When a lot of people forget that. Even a statement is a question. So then I suppose, they let you select your music, the music that you want to listen to. So I chose like deep forest, kind of like ocean sounds, with the odd sort of like slow attack synth chord, your major, like it's just a C major in there.
Slow attack and a slow release?
Deeply slow release.
Oh yeah, it comes on slow and it leaves you slow.
Oh yeah.
You don't even notice it's there.
A slow train going past.
Okay.
And then so you got the headphones on, the noise canceling headphones, and then they give you like this really nice night mask, which is one of those like soft suction ones that doesn't actually touch your eyes. Oh yeah. So you're in this like dark space. You can't even. And
who said that?
Yeah, exactly. And then you lay back and you just, they jack you full of ketamine. And
I'm sure that's the terminology they use.
Yeah. We're going to be jacking you full of this stuff right now.
Mr. Cameron, just relax. We're going to jack your arm full of ketamine. Just lay down.
Yeah.
Wait, was this in New York?
Yeah, this is in Brooklyn. Yeah.
So is this in like an office, like a medical building type vibe, or is it like?
Yeah.
Okay. Or is this in Steve's living room?
Yeah, exactly. Well, one day, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
But so this particular clinic is run by an ex ER, I guess like head doctor, and she became, I suppose, was
she knows how to find a vein.
Yes, she does, and she also knows how to manage
vitals.
I guess the major concern with ketamine treatment is, panic and anxiety and people not being used to psychedelics and maybe having what they perceive to be a psychotic episode, even though it's just the ketamine.
That's the problem. That's why you got to keep coke around, because if you do a bump, it's kind of level you out. I don't know if you asked the doctor about that, but something to think about for next time.
It's funny you say that, because they do have, like, if you really are losing your penny and you're just going like, fuck this, they have like benzos right there that they can swap out, and so they can, because that's like an eject button, right, for psychedelics. Anyone that's a real pro will.
That's a fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they have that there in case, because so 3 out of the 4 were like blissful, amazing experiences for me, and then one of them was I felt like I was trapped between the walls of 2 different dimensions.
But you did this 4 times. You did this 4 times.
Yeah, 4 times, 4 sessions.
Was the bad trip out of the 4 the last one you did?
No, it was the 3rd one.
Okay.
So I went away like, good God, I just met God, and apparently it was Satan, which really flipped the whole thing upside down. God was an emu in a nurse's outfit, trying to duct tape together the walls of a room that I was stuck in, because the rooms were going to fall down, and outside of the walls was just like infinite space. And this emu was like, I really don't want you to see out there.
Okay, I think my first takeaway is I'm not doing enough ketamine when I have my cheeky little bump in the end.
Yeah. No, this is a serious amount.
When you said they jack you up, you wasn't lying.
No, they jack you.
But were you doing this for a purpose, or was this just to have the experience?
No, yeah, there's certainly an element of curiosity, but they also, you have to, it's, I guess, required to do a mental health assessment, and you have to be the right kind of candidate. You have to sort of have experienced depression and maybe be currently experiencing depression for it to even be effective, or anxiety or what have you. But I don't know if this is something that I haven't really ever done an interview before, but I was super talkative during my first experience there, the first infusion. And apparently I demanded that the doctor who was present write down what I was saying, because I felt it was of utmost importance. And she just sent me the
That's very Kanye West-like, but sorry, go ahead.
There was a big feeling of like, I found the secret, guys. If someone doesn't write this down,
whatever is coming out of my mouth is pure gold, so somebody should write this down. I'll give you 10% once I become a billionaire.
Exactly. In fact, there's even a sentence in here.
You got the transcripts.
I've got the transcript right here. So
beautiful. This is a great way to end this show.
So I feel like I could read the whole thing, honestly, but I'll give you the first bit, okay? I'll stop when I'm ready to stop.
If you want more, you read the first bit. If we want more, we'll ask you for it, sweetheart.
I'll stop when I feel like stopping.
Say when.
Peasant, prince, fisherman and fish, submarine and the water, bird and the sky, Canadian otters, very sweet animal. I know what it feels like to be an otter now. I am part of a riverbed. Little alien fella just looking at me. Everything is malleable, just as I am a flat surface as well as 3D. Who knows where a finger really is? I may be spread across a whole field. Remember, you are moving around. Be graceful. I like the word graceful and grateful. My hands are in some lobster boxing glove. I feel like I'm in a sausage chair.
Sorry to interrupt you. Is that an Australian slang, or is that just a chair made out of sausage?
It's just a chair made out of sausage. Yeah, that's
Great question. Great question.
It could go either way.
But thank you for that. Yeah,
it makes a real sausage chair.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was just a chair that felt like a sausage.
Got it.
I'm diving from outer space, skydiving. Everything is upside down. I'm upside down in my chair. I've gone full all the way around. I'm seeing shapes. Take my words and sell them as albums. Put them into USB sticks and sell them on the train. I'm a mechanic under the Batmobile. We train the horses to feel like wheels, very comfortable. You can't train a pig to taste like bacon. You don't end up in a cave unless you wanted somewhere to sit down.
Have you found a publisher for these?
I'm sort of like wondering if there's because this is a lot of the stuff that I get into are very sort of basic teenage like acid revelations that are not all that profound, quite trite, but there's also some shit in here, for instance, like I'm a mechanic under the Batmobile. That one feels pretty important.
No, there's something there.
Timely as well.
There's a lot. I mean, out of all that stuff, obviously, let's say half of it will just kind of be some, what teenage gibberish, like you were saying. But then the other half of it, there's some real gold in there, in them there hills.
Yeah, there is something to it. I started seeing, here I go, space people like Romans in the stars, metallic waves upon waves upon waves. To ever think that I was in control was ridiculous. To ever think that I had any kind of idea was ridiculous. But that's exactly what I'm talking about, the ridiculous nature of things. Glass and sand and fire and kitty cats and pyramids and liquid metal. I guess I was just like talking about what I was seeing, but it was absolutely insane.
I'm glad that the doctor captured that, and I hope you didn't have to pay extra. Did that just come with was that kind of included?
She was really cool about it. She just sent me an email. I was like, hey, by the way, just found this transcript.
She didn't make fun of you. She
did like what? So the first time she didn't make fun of me, right? And I thought, wow, I just had a really profound experience. she said, obviously, next time I'd recommend you just hitting record on your phone. So I don't. And so I did.
It's like you were the musician. I mean,
yeah.
You can, mm-hmm.
And when I listened back, I could hear her laughing in the background. So she's just
I'm going to monitor your vitals and just kind of have a laugh when you start talking about
these vitals look good, bro, but you saying some wild shit.
Yeah, I guess she just like part of her job is sitting there and just watching people absolutely off their tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I mean, she's looking at her Instagram stories as well, but that's pure entertainment.
That's why the drug dealer, does a line, takes his money, and leaves. He doesn't want to see where it's going.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, one thing you've done is inspire me to seek out a place just like this because I would love to give it a try. Do you think that now that you're all done, you are a changed man forever?
I think it's a really effective. They described it to me as floss for the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about a very like fundamental chemical level here, not like what kind of thoughts will I have or what feelings will I have. It's like they're just chemically resetting the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I found it to be very effective. Yeah, exactly.
So the mental plaque.
Obviously look into it and make sure you pick the right spot because I've heard there are some rough places like they'll just stick you in a room.
Don't go to that guy. Don't go to that guy in Altadena in the apartment complex. I told you.
Yeah, do not.
When I go and seek them out on Yelp or TripAdvisor, never pick the cheapest ketamine therapy place. Is our approach.
Yeah, I think I don't want to talk about how much money you should spend because I don't know if that's an indication of quality. But
that's a good point. But you want a feeling.
Yes, exactly. You want to be like, it's costing me something. You don't want to be like, wow, that's cheap. Out of the two feelings, you want to feel like you're spending some money.
Just like regular therapy.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly right.
All right, Alex. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. We had a great time. And then Oxy Music is going to be out. This episode will come out tomorrow, so that comes out this Friday? This weekend?
Yeah, March 11. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. You guys are awesome.
Congratulations, bro. Have fun on the road. Tell my family in Brussels I said hello.
I will. I'll go find them and throw a brick through their front window.
Perfect. I appreciate that. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Later.